The podcast is live. Lot of fun for how long?
Hi, everybody. We are live today. Hi, Lovine.
Hi, Nicole. How are you today?
I'm good. Yeah, everybody. I'm Nicole Hanselman. I'm here with Lovine Award. Today, we're talking about dementia again. Yeah, we spoke about it a little bit last week. You missed that, Lovine.
Unfortunately.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, I did miss it. So
you enjoyed
yeah,
some.
hopefully today we'll do like a little bit of catch up, pretty much on dementia. I
Mm,
myself, I don't really have a vast knowledge of dementia as a whole,
mm,
but I've worked before in my college years. I've worked with patients who have had dementia, or
yeah.
like places like care homes whereby they have like dementia patients. So
Yeah.
I got a glimpse of of how they are, what they do, how they live, and stuff like that, practically. So
Yeah.
at least I will share that little knowledge I have.
That little knowledge. You know about my mom, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah, what happened to her, how she got lost, and we thought it was good to teach people about this or make people aware, because I also have experience with dementia people. I can spot it. I know the signs. Once you work with them for a while, you can just know the signs, you can tell. So those are the things I was sharing last week. So you missed a lot of the stories. So
Yeah.
before we get on, I wanted to see whether I could tag people or share that we are on, because I don't know whether everybody is on here. A lot of people are not so aware that we are on today.
It's okay. You can, if you watch it after, you can share with your friends or whatever knowledge or then something new that you've learned from the video, from us
Yeah.
talking. You can go share with your friends, especially nyumbani Kenya. Jamani, share, sababu nyumbani hakuna, unajua tuseme kwamba kila mtu, not everyone, doesn't know about dementia. There's some people who know about dementia, and the memory loss and stuff like that. They do know about that, but
Yeah.
majority of people are not really aware. So
Yeah. You
what?
know what? When you come to from a point of sharing things, every knowledge we have, when you put all that together, we find that you're moving forward. But when we don't, a lot of families are struggling and are going through things, but they don't share the stories. So nobody gets to know. It could inspire somebody, it could teach somebody else something. So from my story, I thought, you know what? Let us share the little knowledge we have, the little experience we have, and get moving.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
We are streaming on YouTube. We're streaming on Live Lessons by Nicola Soman page, and on here Success Your Way Movement. And what I wanted to do was share that we are live, because
So
I
also,
didn't.
as Nicole says, tag your friends, tag your friends.
Don't
Tag
tag.
all
Let
your
me tag
friends.
it.
Tag your
I,
friends.
I'm not tagging.
Like, hello.
They just sometimes just disappear from my head when I want them.
By all means,
So what
we're
have
not,
you?
I
Mhm.
just want to say, by all means, we're not professional. Please get that right. We could give you like, hopefully, the information that we have is not wrong, but we are not going to give you the entire uh history or a dictionary full of like dementia stuff. We only know like a little bit knowledge. We know probably a quarter or half of a quarter. That's the thing. So the little knowledge that we'll give you, hopefully you guys can also go and research more about it. So because when you
Yeah,
do, you will be equipped with so much knowledge. So when you see a neighbor's mom or father or a relative or your relative, you'll be able to spot that because at home, when people have dementia, mtu anasema amerogwa, amefanywa hivi. But it's not
yeah,
actually, in most cases, it's not about being voodoo. It's an
yeah.
illness. Yeah, it's an
We
illness.
really don't know. We really
Exactly.
don't. Yeah,
Yeah.
so we were on here on Thursday and we shared a lot. I shared what my understanding of dementia, because you got to be trained to look after people who have dementia. So my knowledge and the science, and I think we'll just do a little bit of a recap of what we talked about for those who
Yeah.
missed. Yeah, so we were trying to say, for me, I try to explain it in a layman's language. I just say dementia either my wires in it could connect, there's a disconnection somewhere. The wires in the mind and that could connect with the wrong places and the wrong things. So if wire speech gets disconnected, then you forget how to talk. If wire the one that tells you, okay, this is how people walk, one step at a time, then you forget how to walk. If it's a memory one, then you forget, because there are different types of Alzheimer's diseases that we don't even know. All depends on which part of the brain it affects. It depends on a lot of things. So those are the things we are not aware of. Those are the things we are not aware of. So just to understand dementia in general, just for you to survive with a family member who is struggling and stuff, just know it's just the brain, the normal functioning of the brain doesn't function as you expect it. It stops functioning in a normal way. So people forget little things. Some of the signs is that you tell somebody something, they forget it in a short space of time.
Yeah.
That they might not be audible when they're talking, a little bit like sluggish or something when speaking. They might not even walk properly, forget to walk, balance. Those are some of the things you can tell that, oh, actually, this person isn't quite okay,
Yeah, it's in the right state, yeah. Because, with people with dementia as well, they hallucinate, they hallucinate things, and they hear, they hear things that are not there, that other people cannot hear. Yeah. So please, if your mom or your dad or your great uncle or someone like that, they're speaking to someone, or they're speaking to the wall, or they're hearing things, please do not assume that they are
crazy
practically.
I like that you mentioned that, because the last time we didn't even come to that part of dementia. I did share a story that is real of a person I knew of that had not showered for 10 years. And one of my friends came back to me and they're like, oh, no, you exaggerated. That's not true. I was like, that's actually true. It's actually true. It was, in fact, more than 10 years. It was actually 20 years. It was more than, but I just said 10 years, because a lot of people, if you tell them that, people don't believe it. But it's true. They had lived with dementia for so long. They're in the late 80s, 90s. They had lived with it for so long. If you start the normal age is about 65, then you start being at high risk, So if you develop it at 70, you have another 20 or so years.
3 years to live, exactly. Yeah. Sorry, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
That's all right. What you're saying is just one of the when it's really developed, because it's a progressive disease. When it gets deep into dementia, that's when you start hallucinating. You get imaginary friends. You see imaginary people.
Absolutely. And back to the point about you saying that that the person stayed 10 or 20 years without having a shower. That's true. Like with people with dementia, they lose the ability to remember events, like that person, that being, probably he or she might have thought like, oh, I already had a shower.
Yeah.
It's almost like a short-term memory loss, basically,
If you're telling them to have a shower at 10 o'clock, they know they don't have a shower at 10 o'clock.
They really don't understand the environment. They don't understand the environment or situations, So
I completely refused. They were like, no, you're exaggerating. Somebody can't have not showered for 10 years. I'm like, even more than 10 years. I was just saying 10 years, but it was more than 10 years. They had never.
Some forget that they ate. Some forget that they've just had food. Some forget that they had a cup of tea. Some forget that they've seen their families. In fact, there was a woman over here who completely forgot about the daughter. She forgot that she had kids. She did not remember at all. It's a child who had to remember, who had to visit her every day, say, oh, hello, mom, can you remember me? Mom, can you remember me? Mom, it's me. And it was so sad. Yeah, it was so sad and so heartbreaking to see her, a person who has raised you for more than 30 years.
Struggled and
struggling to remember who you are. It's heartbreaking. So believe me, people, these things do happen. And again, at the same breath, there's always one thing that they'll remember. Some of them might end up remembering their grandchild.
Yeah.
Remember, they remember that to make their cup of tea. There's always one thing that they'll remember. So don't think because you remembered something that they don't really have, dementia or Alzheimer's disease.
They've not even understood dementia that well. It's such a confusing thing. And if we understand that it's confusing, then we'll come to we'll start maybe acknowledging that it's there and maybe accepting, and we'll come from a better place. But like you say, you know what? You do forget. There are people who never forget that they love a cup of tea. You know, but every time you make them one, they forget. I share that story where you make them a cup of tea. They think it's too hot. They place it on the table there for it to cool. They literally forget that you made them a cup of tea. Later on, by the time they're drinking it, it's too cold. They want another cup of tea. And the people who forget that they've never smoked their whole life, they start thinking that they smoke.
They smoke, yeah. Yeah.
And somebody starts smoking, and they never smoked their whole life. They never did.
Yeah, they've never smoked their own life, like literally. Yeah. So I was watching like a case study. It was a bit of a documentary, and it was a care home in America. And how they were helping patients with dementia was like by playing music, you know, like the ones who were in the 80s. So them being in the 80s, so their music was sort of like, you know, Ella Fitzgerald, Billie Holiday, like, you know, yeah. So they were trying to do that, and you could see they basically move to the beat. They would move the beat. That is music also is a way to help basically. I'm not saying I'm not professional. It does help like with the memory as well. But just to recap what Nicole said, and Nicole and Yvette said about, you know, the symptoms of dementia. Please do not go around and pretending to be a doctor and diagnosing people with dementia. Please do not do that. Seek professional help. But just like the normal idea of like the symptoms of dementia, it's memory loss, thinking speed, mental sharpness and quickness, language such as words, using words correctly,
using the wrong words, placing things in the wrong places. You think they should know very well that you can put a glass in the toilet, but in their head they can't connect that. They can't connect that. Oh, you know very well, okay, you've brushed your teeth, you need to rinse your mouth and spit it out, but they can't connect that. They drink it. They can't remember some things that were natural and automatic that they did every single day of their lives. They can't do them anymore.
They really can't remember them. Yeah. So you have to be there for them. Just imagine yourself, like me as a person, basically. Actually, I told a story of my mom. My mom has no dementia. She's only 49. Well, actually, dementia can, you know, some can
start from any age, but high risk is from 65.
Yeah. Basically. So my mom was making a cup of tea. And so she was making a cup of tea, and so she needed to pour the milk in the cup. And so she starts pouring the milk in the bin, thinking that's a cup.
My word.
So remember, obviously that was funny at the time. She was like, jamani afanya nini? But now people live with that every single day.
So that's people who are actually sick and they have to live with that every single day. And you look for that person who keeps on pouring milk in the bin.
In the bin, thinking it's a cup. Literally. So you have to monitor them, check their judgment, check their mood, check their movement. Like they find difficulties like doing daily activities. You know, for example,
difficult. They find every single thing very difficult. That used to be so easy for them, so natural. You know, when you're talking about hallucinating and stuff, you reminded me of another patient, and they used to have an imaginary friend, and the way they coordinated with that imaginary friend, you'll think that that person really exists. The coordination was good. Like they had good conversations, like with whoever that was. They had proper conversation. From my end, whatever she's saying, you can see it's a complete conversation, a flowing conversation. And if it was like maybe tea time, they'll tell her, okay, let's go now, it's time for tea. Let's go and have a tea. And you'll see she's making sure that they go together. The coordination was so amazing. Like you can tell they can really see this person. You're convinced from this end. If you're in a different room, you think there's a ghost. If you're watching it from somewhere, you think there's a ghost. Because of that coordination.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So always be aware, honestly, of them. Do not be angry. You know, you're nyumbani, like a lot of people in nyumbani that, you know, some people are very short-tempered, or they might assume someone is pretending, or, you know, but please take everything with caution. Take everything with caution, because before you know, it'll be too late.
those last moments that you could have had, and
Mm-hmm.
the moments you've wasted and stuff. You really have to be patient and patient and patient.
Yeah, patience is key. Generally, patience is key. So patience and wisdom is key.
Being aware and understanding things. We fear the things we don't understand. You know why we like justifying things? Oh, yeah, merogwa, or sijundini, or it's a curse, whatever. We do all those things because we don't understand. When you don't understand things, we start making excuses for them, or
Yeah,
if we
yeah,
can't
yeah.
control it, we start being angry at people, and sometimes people don't want to accept.
Absolutely.
That is the most common thing. People don't want to accept. I also shared my story where I was saying how when I first recognized that my mom wasn't quite okay, and I was like, oh,
Yeah.
okay, these are the signs. I've seen it before. I know it. And people
Yeah.
are like, no,
Yeah.
she's just pretending. She's just pretending. How comes when you tell her about this, she doesn't forget? How comes if you mention money, she doesn't forget? You see? And like that's dementia.
It
That's
is
dementia.
dementia.
That's the first stages of it. That's how it acts. You'll remember things that are still important to you, or maybe you had a certain connection with them, but you will end up losing that connection with time. With time, even that, if it was that money, with time, even that money won't be important to them at all. You'll be giving them and they'll just be dropping it because it
They'll be
doesn't make
patient.
sense. They don't know what that is. Or
Yeah.
even if they remember that you promised them money and you give them that money, they don't remember why they love money or why they needed that money. They're like, okay, they've left it there,
They left
even
it
though they
there.
were waiting for it. It's just like the cup of tea example. They know that they love a cup of tea so much sometimes. Somebody know that I really love a cup of tea. But once you give them that cup of tea, they try it, but it doesn't give them that fulfillment it used to give them when they used to sip a cup of tea. Like,
Yeah.
nice, I'm at home now, I'm relaxing cup of tea. It's lost that meaning to them. So you
Mm,
make them wrong and they're not feeling it. Sometimes they don't.
yeah. With time, it gets worse. With time, it gets worse. It doesn't get better. It's not like when a malaria, kushameza your tablets of malaria,
Then it goes away.
utapona. No, there's no cure with dementia. There is no cure. With
So far now.
time, it just gets worse. With time, it gets worse and worse and worse.
And we have to understand that it's a progressive disease and it's different for everybody.
Yeah,
That some people that progress to the other stages really fast. So you go through different stages. There'll be stage, aggressive stage, when they're like, they will hit you for whatever reason. If you're trying to force them anything, they'll hit you and stuff. You have to understand all those things. So when they're being aggressive, they don't really want to attack you. Somebody doesn't really want to attack you in that way.
yeah.
Yeah, it's really interesting to know those stories. What are some of those very interesting stories you encountered?
Well, for me, not really vast of like stories. It's just like when, being sent to a care home basically when I was only because I came to understand about dementia when I was at the age of 19. And that was when I was going to when I was working for like care homes basically and seeing
Mm.
the patients. I myself before that I had never ever worked in an environment, such environment. I'd never known anything like that existed, basically, until I started working for an agency and they took me to care homes. And it was just fun. A lot of the patients, or rather the clients, actually, the residents, we call them residents, a lot of the residents were lovely, even though they'd forget your name within split of seconds. People do forget my name anyways, people with no dementia. But with them, they'd forget your name in a split of second. And each time you go into their room, it's like they're seeing you for the very first time.
For the very first time.
Oh, darling, it's nice to see you. And you just walked out like a minute ago.
Yeah, and they start getting to know you afresh.
Yeah, you just left the room like a minute ago. And most of them are actually very lovely. Most of those people are
Most
very lovely.
are
Yeah,
really,
most
really
people are very
lovely.
lovely. If you are understanding with them, honestly, they're very lovely. It's
Really
you.
nice. And once they know you, even
Yeah.
they might not remember you, but I think there's something about energies or something. There's something
Mm,
about just being nice and loving. Because once they know you, even though they might not recognize you, but every time you come, they just feel different and they're more accepting to you. But if you're new, like brand new, or you are not nice to them, you'll see that they
mm.
just don't want you. They don't
That's wrong.
understand
Yeah,
why. They don't
exactly.
know why, but they just don't want you. You notice that some people don't like a certain kind of care or support work or whatever, and they don't know. They can't articulate why.
Yeah, exactly. So you really have to be patient. You are Konyumbani, be patient with them. Be patient with your father. Be patient with your mom. Be patient with your relative. Because believe me, remember the good times that you had. They're always there for you, even if they're not there for you, you know.
Mm.
Always give them a helping hand and always be patient. As I said, there's no cure, you know. Right now they're only having, you know, they're just on the progress, like the early stages of progress on how to slow dementia down. But there's
Mm.
no cure. They'll
There's,
stay, they
yeah.
will stay that way until they pass away. So
Yeah.
probably he will just give you the notes that we had, just like again, go and seek professional help. This is just like a little bit like the things that you can help you
Mm.
living with someone who has dementia, or if you're taking care of someone who has dementia.
Mm.
As I say, patience is key.
Patience is key.
Is key. Yeah,
The music you mentioned, dancing has been said to be really good.
very good.
You
Yeah.
have to coordinate and stuff. So dancing is said to be really good. So try maybe dancing and stuff, and just get to bring them back to life. I discovered recently that blue is actually a good color for people with dementia.
Really?
Yeah, not blue in itself, but they can't see blue.
All right. I never
So when you
knew
wear
that.
blue, they get to at least concentrate on your face.
Yeah.
Never heard of that before.
Okay.
Yeah, if you want them to at least get to see your face and get to know your features and stuff, blue is a good color because it kind of disappears.
All right. Is it like more of like calming and
And then, yeah, and things like that.
Ah, okay. Oh, I never
Yeah.
really knew about that actually.
No, I never did. So I hear blue is a really nice color for people who have dementia. If you can't bring people with dementia, maybe to wear blue and stuff. And good. And anyway, things like music, dancing,
Yeah, dancing, swimming, walking,
swimming,
like
yeah,
do
walking is really
activities.
important.
Yeah. Yeah, make sure that they're keeping in touch with people because that is good. You know, do
Yeah,
not isolate them. So when nyumbani ukiweza kusikia someone is talking to themselves, you get embarrassed and then you lock them in the room. Please do not do that. Refrain from doing that. Stop, do not lock those people up. Because the more you look, first of all, that's inhumane. That's inhumane at all. Do
it's
not
not
lock them up.
good. It's
It's
not
not
good.
good.
You're depriving an
Bad.
adult
Yeah,
the freedom of everything by
exactly.
yeah. I always say if somebody forgets that they eat, I know it's a tricky one if they forget that they eat, but you don't want them to feel bad because they also have emotions. They do feel bad when they're not treated well, even though they might not understand everything, but they do feel bad when they're mistreated. So if somebody forgets that they've eaten every time, try and give them something fast. And then see whether you can reason with them and explain to them, oh, by the way, just be nice and be patient because sometimes people do remember that they've eaten if you explain to them nicely, or they'll remember that they're full if you explain to them nicely. But if you go like, oh, you've already eaten, I can't give you more food, you're just making the situation worse.
Yeah. Be very gentle. Be very, very gentle, actually, you know?
Very gentle. Find ways to distract. What I do sometimes, I give you water, and as I tell you, like I'm preparing something for you. Then I see whether there's time to like converse about the whole thing that you've already eaten, and see whether it will jog anything into your head and stuff. If not, then just give them food in small portions, because they'll forget immediately anyway, almost immediately anyway.
Exactly.
So by the time you waste time, they'll be on to something new. And then another thing I need us to remember is that sometimes when you have dementia, people forget. Yeah, okay, no. Sometimes people forget about tiny little things. Yeah. So you got to really, really be absolutely patient with people with dementia. I've lost my train of thought, a lot of my train of thought. So I'm going to tell you a different story about people with dementia, how sometimes people with dementia can be. One morning, you can wake up with somebody there that remember everything. They look normal. A guest come, you're having a conversation. They look absolutely normal. They're okay. But by the end of the day, by the time they're exhausted and stuff, they become so different. They become so different. So when you're looking after somebody with dementia, you're supporting somebody with dementia, do be aware of that and understanding of that they will change. 1 minute they'll convince you they're okay and normal. 1 minute you'll think that, okay, I can leave them in the kitchen to cook for themselves. No, you don't know what will change between the moment you left them, and that's unsafe for them. That's not so good for them. So you got to be really careful and loving. Be more aware, educate yourself as much as possible. Things are changing a lot. a lot of discovery about dealing with dementia and stuff. There's a lot of that, but the cure is not there yet. We just need to come from that understanding and knowing how to deal with people with dementia. Otherwise, I don't know whether we have any questions from the audience. We had covered this last week. We're just revisiting it a lot because I wanted Lovine to just confirm some of those stories. After a friend told me, "Oh, your story is exaggerated. 10 years of not sharing." I'm like, okay, hear it from somebody else if you don't believe me. Hear it from somebody else. Dementia is crazy. If we start believing that people with dementia are capable of anything, then we will start helping people with dementia and supporting families that are supporting people with dementia. I don't know whether we have any questions today for the people who are joining. We did cover a lot. We did cover about looking after ourselves, having a support system around, diet, eating well, making sure we eat well, exercise. Yes, your patients need to exercise and you need to exercise too. Or you won't make it to the next day. You won't make it. You imagine coming back to a room and somebody has already forgotten you. Everything you've done, you have to do all over again. It's not really easy. It's not easy at all. Anyway, anybody with anything to add today? Let's hear what you got. Thank you for joining us. We are talking about dementia awareness and oh, okay. Any questions? Say hello. Tell us where you're joining us from. Today I didn't tag anybody at all. I just went for it. Any questions? Say hello at least and tell us where you're joining from today. So, because we're just doing a recap of what we talked about last week, let me see some of the things I had on my notes about dementia. Oh, thank you. Say hello and where you're joining us from. I don't get to see your name when I'm on live. Have you got any experience with dementia or heard of anything? That's so tricky and heartbreaking. It's so heartbreaking. Imagine a person who loves you so much not remembering who you are. It's so, so heartbreaking. You need to have a heart of gold. Imagine.
You really have to. You need to have a heart of gold, basically. Especially like the worst thing is that when you're close to that person, when you were close, and gradually they forget who you are. It's quite
Yeah.
really sad. It's really sad.
Sad. Yeah, I do remember we mentioned last week a little bit again about the movie, The Notebook. It's such a you've watched it.
Which
The
one?
Notebook.
Which movie?
The Notebook.
No,
About
no,
you
I
know
haven't.
The Notebook. It's the
No, I
sweetest
haven't
thing
watched
you've
it.
ever watched. It's so sweet. Where the husband had to visit her, the wife, and she had forgotten her kids and stuff, and it's such a nice thing to watch. But again, I think it's what people has misled people in one way or another. Because people we think that whatever they watch or not put is what happens with dementia. You have to know that dementia is so diverse.
So
It's so
diverse.
different
There's
for
many types
everybody.
of dementia. Yeah, there's like so many. There's like many types of dementia actually. So you need to go do your research and know. And back to the activities of saying like what you should do for these people. Share the photos, share like experiences, your stories. You know,
Old
musically.
photos, look at them again, try and just jog their memories. You know what, one mistake that we do, and especially dementia patients, because they don't know any better sometimes,
Mm, mm,
because they just lost interest or that they're getting older, then they think that they don't have to go out there and do interesting things. That is
yeah,
one downfall. You have to keep on doing things that you loved before. Oh,
exactly,
I'm doing in
absolutely,
party too much
absolutely.
this weekend. I'm doing
I'm
it too much, and God knows. Is that Christine? I'm joining from Manchester.
probably,
I don't know how I'm perturbed by dementia issues, the lack of understanding. This
yeah,
disease makes me feel like getting back to school just to be aware of how to take care of our loved one. Yeah,
absolutely,
I know it's
absolutely.
heartbreaking, but you know what? I tell myself, let's try and reduce the cases for the next generation by looking after ourselves from now. Trust is something that people don't understand much of. The scientists still don't know much about it, but we know the things that can help. So let's look after ourselves. Let's eat well, exercise, be engaged in activities we love. We can't stop doing those things. Immediately you stop.
You really can't stop. Just remember how you're treating someone now. You too, one day will become old. You too, one day you're going to age. Dementia does not select race, gender, whatever. We're short, tall, it does not select. It hits you like a
It's
train.
so bad.
So
It's
treat,
hit bad.
yeah, it really hits you bad.
Like diabetics know that you are a high risk individual. For me, like I know my mom had it, I know her mom had it, so I'm at high risk. I know I really have to start looking after myself now. Keep on being educated and educating myself as much as possible. Learning and if it comes, it comes. But we do know it does slow down for other individuals. They're trying to get to the bottom of it. But I think it's just about your life in general, your lifestyle in general. I think that could be it. So, yeah, thanks for joining us today. And
And I like the lady saying I'm joining from a lady or a man.
I think that's Christine, but I'm not sure. It sounds like her.
Yeah, so she's in the UK, and UK is known for having so much research and so much they put knowledge out there for everyone to understand. Even when you go to any website, it's there, it's out there. So she's still trying. He or she is still trying to learn more. So I think from Kenya, you are saying like, oh, how are you? Because hawako hapa, they're not living here. They don't really understand. We might not be able to understand how difficult it is to live with that person.
It's not
But we
easy.
understand, the knowledge side of it, because we have worked with such patients, we have worked with residents like that. So, whatever advice you get, from someone, just take it on board. If you don't want to, take it with a pinch of salt.
Yeah. Yeah, compassion does it. Compassion does it. Love does it. At the end of the day, love always wins. So just don't stop loving the person and being bitter, angry at them. Okay, they might have made a mistake, maybe, and stop looking after themselves. But let love win. Be compassionate, because you don't know where you'd go wrong, what would happen to you, and then you do that part too. Yeah.
And when you back to what Nicole was saying about that communication, when you communicate with someone with dementia, please speak clearly and slow. Najua kwamba Kiswahili na Kijaluo you speak like 300 miles per hour. Because
I speak so fast.
I speak so fast. So many people are like, pardon. I speak so fast. But with someone with dementia, as I said, the level of understanding is very different. Their judgment is very different. So please do speak clearly and slowly, like using shorter sentences. Msiweze kuongea sentensi refu kutoka Nairobi mpaka huko Ukwale, like very, very short sentences basically, and make them very clear. And if it's a story as well, make it like a summary basically, that one. And then make eye contact as well, basically with the person that when you are talking or when you're asking a question, and give them time to respond, because their intake and how they process the information is different from how we process the information.
It's really different. It's really slow. And I think sometimes they become aggressive because they misunderstood you. They think that you're saying something else. You know what I usually do? I ignore whatever. If somebody was getting angry, thinking that I told them something else, I ignore it all, and then I start afresh gently again. Can I try and tell you that again? Can I explain that again? Then you start afresh. Because it's not about you, it's about them, how they're processing that thing. And if they're having a bad day, the favorite thing in the world, if they won't understand you, they won't understand you. You can just leave it for a while. Always it is on them to come away at that time. Because I mean that into a different world. You see, like my mom recently went back to her days when she used to work. She went back to when she was working, and whatever she was recalling where she lived at the time is not where she lives right now. So you know what? You've got grandchildren who are old. You have a 21-year-old grandchild. Do you want to tell me it will sink in at that time?
No.
So you
No.
have to go back to their level at that time. I
Yeah,
think it also
absolutely.
just takes, apart from patience and stuff, a little bit more maybe experience, just being open-minded to the whole thing for
Yeah.
to be better at it, I suppose, to be better with time. Actually, dementia goes so tricky. It's so heartbreaking and so intense. It's
It's so
absolutely
heartbreaking.
intense.
It's really heartbreaking. It can reduce you to tears, honestly, when you see a loved one going through that. Like well, fortunately for me, none of my family members. Obviously now my great aunt, Nicole's mom, obviously,
Mm,
but my immediate family has never really had it. So, but
mm,
seeing a family member going through that, and when Nicole told me about their mom going to church and getting lost, a simple thing as going to church, getting to a border and coming back, it's hard. And the most annoying thing, the most thing that upset me was when Nicole said that, when the border guy, the motorcycle man, was meant to pick up your mom, I think was drop her off at home or at church.
Oh, I think that's the other time when she died.
Exactly.
The other
And that
time when she
really,
was coming back home and she disagreed with the border person.
honestly, it sounds funny. It really sounds so funny. It's so funny.
It's funny now,
Uh,
but when your mom gets lost, it's not funny.
and it's so funny. But remember, if it's someone here, probably they would have understood, like, okay, there is something amiss. But because people are not educated back home, they can't really realize that something was amiss. You don't see it, you don't point it out, because before the outlook, they look like your
They
typical.
look normal and fine.
Yeah, like they don't have any mental issues. They look absolutely fine, you know. So be aware, and when you're speaking to them, let them speak, about their own health issues, like during discussions. Do not
Yeah,
like speak for them. Let them speak it, basically, because
yeah.
they'll have their moments whereby you can have like a proper conversation. You will have those moments where you'll have good conversations. All the time it's all like a conversation of confusion. You'll have moments whereby you'll have meaningful conversation.
Yeah.
Finally, do not try to be condescending and patronizing. Mm? Do not be
Yeah.
patronizing, please.
You know
Yeah,
what I tell myself is I remind myself, those people deep inside them, they're still human beings. So whatever you wouldn't like being done to you, don't do it to somebody else just because
exactly.
just
Absolutely.
because they had a toilet accident on themselves. That's the other thing that you have to remember. The dementia patients can have a lot of toilet accidents. But by the
Yeah,
time the brain tells them they need the toilet, or by the time they've done it on themselves, and then it tells them that, this is that, don't touch it, there's a disconnection.
the disconnection.
They'll go
Absolutely.
on touching it and touching or sometimes they just mean well, they want to clean it. They realize, what, this doesn't smell too good. Let me try and clean it. But they don't know what they can clean it with. They can't connect these things. So they
It's
end up with
almost,
this.
yeah.
It's so
Sorry for
sad.
cutting you off. Yeah, go on. Yeah, it's almost like they've gone to like a state of a child,
Yeah,
basically. They're
it
going to a
does.
state of a
Yeah,
child. Yeah,
yeah.
So
You-
you have to be very, very patient with them. And if they soil themselves, just msianze kukasirika like, sasa amejikunyia, sasa sijui ni kusafisha, sijui nini.
Imagine, you make them feel even worse than they already do, because sometimes they
Exactly.
realize they did something bad. Brain yake ikirudi and I realize, you know what? I understand amefanya nini mbaya. Anajua amefanya
Exactly.
kitu mbaya, but I understand what the
Exactly.
unaangalia tu the poop everywhere. I have to clean all that poop. Imagine.
Remember, they once looked after you. No matter how much they raise you, whether it was toxic or non-toxic, they looked after you. You have to be very compassionate with them. They did wipe your bum when you were a child. They were there for you when you were sick. So these are the times that you need to be there for them. And you need to show them love more than anything. Acknowledge what they have said. Do not disregard whatever they say. Acknowledge it. Always
Yeah,
acknowledge
absolutely.
it. Yeah. Give
Absolutely.
them simple choices. Kama ni mkenda, if you're going, like, just like, even if it's an outfit, give them like a very simple choices. Do not complicate things. Do not
Oh
complicate.
yeah, you know what, you're raising really valid points that I forgot about last time. If you're going to explain something that is a little bit complicated, do it in bite size.
Yeah.
Yeah, bite size. Explain it bits by bits for them. Tuseme unataka waende choo, unaona. By the time you tell a person, Okay, we need to use the toilet. What I need you to do now is, can you stand up? Then stand up. Oh, please, can you walk this way? Walk that way. Imagine anaweza juanga choo ni left, but for some reason anataka ende right. So can you
Exactly.
imagine? Alafu utaanza kukasirika hata anajua choo. No, you can't go being mad. You have to be patient. Vitu za kijinga, you repeat and repeat and repeat and repeat
And repeat yourself.
and repeat. And repeat again. So, oh, okay. Can you go this way? The toilet is this way. What am I doing? We are going to the toilet. Can I take you to the toilet, please? Okay. Oh, okay. The more you speak nicely, the more they try. But come on.
Ukikasirika then mesema, some of them went to a state of watoto. Some of them go to that state. So remember, be very patient. You know, you're Mimi kitambo was like, oh my goodness, sasa kupanguza mafia mtu. Nakumbuka like, I wouldn't. But believe me.
I'm so glad I'm past that. I'm so glad
I passed that as well. At the age of 19, I did that job. And after doing my first shift, mtu ambao alikuwa amejisoil vibaya. Shortly after, nilienda kukula vizuri tena sana. Nilikula. So when I do such things, like now they don't bother me anymore.
Right.
Childhood, my mom must speak on your stage. But I'm so equipped that if my mom was to ever be in that situation, in that point,
it won't be a pain.
It will not be a pain. You know, it will be a joy, because once upon a time, when my mom used to do that. And when you're that kind to your parent or to a relative, or even to a neighbor, believe me, because some neighbors might not have like relatives to look after them. So you might be the only immediate person that they can rely on.
Ama you could be the person who teaches the family on how to deal with
the family, exactly. And that kindness will come back to you. Your kids will treat you the same, you know? So treat people with kindness, compassionate, gentleness, meekness. Let's be nice, okay?
Let's make a world a better place from our corner of the world.
Absolutely.
Because sometimes we miss the points. I've just written a little bit of summaries of the things that I had on there. I was saying that develop strong social support, have healthy relationship, join groups, engage with a coach, mentor, counselor, or anything. Just have somebody you can talk to. You will be fatigued. We're not saying it's easy. Utachoka. There'll be bad days. Utachoka. There'll be bad days. And you can't blame people who carers or whatever support person who's. You can't blame whoever is looking after that person. You can't blame them because pia yeye ni binadamu. Kuna pia yeye anakuwa confused. Kuna pia anachoka. Ametoka kutenza chakula, the person doesn't want it. Ametenza chai, the person doesn't want it. So be patient to yourself as a caregiver. Be patient to caregivers. If your family members are taking that time to look after somebody, just give them whatever support you can. If you know you can't physically help, you're not helping financially, you're not helping in any way, don't be part of a problem. Whatever you do,
be part of the solution.
Please don't be part of that problem. And then increase your self-awareness, meditate, have healthy boundaries. Yeah, have healthy boundaries with people. Like if families are stepping in too much, whether it is they're trying to tell you things, you know that person really well. You know that person usipomosha saizi hatataka kuoga. You know that person very well. So you're trying to find ways that work for you or place routines and stuff. You know that person better. So don't let people who come there and don't know you, who visit you and go and never support you, to try and come in between you and your family. Keep healthy boundaries. Tell them now you've stepped too far. I appreciate this, I appreciate that, but when you go this way, this is too far. It's for your well-being so that you survive this a long way. Sustainability. And then have regular self-care, balance diet, exercise, sleep well, honor your emotions, accept them, accept your human being. Kuna wakati pia utakasirika, kuna wakati utataka kulia, kuna wakati utachoka. Sometimes you might have really bad thoughts. Honor your emotions, but deal with them as you go, so that anything you resist persists. So you got to be careful and how you want to deal with that. And then signs that you're being affected, maybe fatigue, started, is a bit, all those things that caregivers get. You start being having really bad time management. You set a date with your friends. You wanted to go out with your friends. You can never honor that. You can never keep that. Always late and stuff. And then you don't want any changes yourself. Any small change affects you. Now there's still umekata vitu ndogo ndogo. Anything like that. I don't know, it could be something petty, but you don't want any small change. Know that this is beginning to affect you. And then exhaustion, unachoka kila saa, yani you're always start at always got time for your own self-care and watch a movie and stuff. You can't do that anymore. It means something behind that. We talked about this the other day, frequent colds and coughs. Yeah, this is so common for even professional people. When you're looking at people for professional level, it's so common. That's why you have to look after yourself. Kunwa maji, drink lots and lots of water. And then being demotivated, una moral, yani tu hauna moral. Vitu hata you could have done naturally and easily, hauna moral. And then these ones, we've been talking a lot about that. The patients should have brain activities, the dancing, crosswords if they still love crosswords. Hata kama understand, jaribu tu kufanya naye kidogo kidogo pole pole, some easy things, something to do with colors if they still have interesting colors, mindfulness, paintings, or my drawing, whatever, just any brain activities at all. And yeah, just try. They also need to keep eating well. Eat your foods in colors and stuff. Exercise, no alcohol. Okay, maybe no alcohol is not fair, especially for an adult who was already drinking, but just try and regulate it. Make sure smoking is not good either. It's really a high risk. So that would have covered a lot of it. And then I would have wanted to talk about the people with high risk, to show that you're high risk.
Yeah.
High risk could be age, which we can't do anything about. It could be
65 and over are affected quite badly, isn't it?
Yeah.
So whilst Nicole is still trying to find her notes, for me, still back to the communication. So communication is just not about talking, basically. Know that communication is also through body language and physical contact.
Yeah.
Because as you say that it's not just like talking, it's also like your gestures and your movement and facial expression, all those basically. So because when you're speaking to someone who has difficulty understanding or grasping what you're saying, one, as we said, be patient and remain calm. Be calm. It's still like water. Do not be talking about, just be, that will help the person communicate more easily, Do not be speaking like fast, like 300 miles per hour.
Body language, because that's a giveaway too, and it's confusing.
Exactly.
If you use your hands a lot and stuff when you're talking to a person who needs but you have to minimize it and stuff. Or just make sure that they are coordinated, because sometimes now anajaribu kuangalia hizo action those action means something else for them. I'm confused kabisa.
Yeah, misunderstand in your face, just trying to.
I know.
Very tired.
Unakuambia tusimama na huku mkono zako zinafanya sasa so
keep your tone friendly, as Nicole saying, keep your tone friendly and positive as possible. Sometimes you get demotivated, but believe me, just keep it positive. Sometimes it's hard to be positive.
Imagine not to respond to our energies. You have that nice, positive, happy energy. You'll find that a lot of people respond to you. For some reason, it just works, with or without communication, whether they understand you or not. Your energy will get powerful, but we still underestimate it. If we could realize that our energy is so important, and for you to develop energy, that positive energy, you have a positive outlook, work from the mind, work from the mind. When you're meditating or praying and looking after yourself from the inside, it will radiate, it will come out. You don't necessarily have to do something magical. You're always like jovial and happy, but that you won't always understand. So we said individual of high risk, it will be age. As you age, you're of high risk. Sometimes your genes, but they're just saying that it's not definitely known. But the genes could be a factor. Maybe I've already thought for myself, you know what? I have a feeling that I'm high risk, because diabetics come from both of my parents. My dad was diabetic. My mom is diabetic. My grandma had dementia. I don't know whether she was diabetic or not. So I have a high risk of developing diabetes. Now, diabetes sana, when your sugar levels changes, you become you're at high risk of developing dementia. Like my mom's dementia comes from a diabetic. So life choices, Yes, we start now when you're young. Attacking Lovine, the young people are telling you, start the journey now. It's the journey to the future.
Yeah.
Old age starts now. Start aging now.
Wow.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
yeah, that is it for me, my darling. I just wanted you here because I knew you've had a little bit of experience here and there, just for you to confirm, my experience. And people can compare whatever my experience from you was. Like I said, a friend was thinking, you exaggerated 10 years. Somebody hasn't shared for 10 years. They thought that is fake, but it
It's
is not.
not an exaggeration because dementia kind of like it affects your brain in a different. I'm not a doctor, so I can't really explain it into depth, but it affects your brain differently in a way.
Mm,
This guy, like I was telling Nicole earlier about Clive Baring, he's not really. He doesn't have dementia, but
mm,
he had. I did a case study in psychology actually. He had like a very, very. I don't know how long it was, but a very short-term memory, very
mm.
short memory. And there was a disease. I can't remember what disease it
Still a
was.
type of Alzheimer disease or something like that.
I
It's
don't
still
know.
yeah,
I think
could
it
be.
was, it was, but something to do with amnesia as well. And
Mm,
he couldn't even remember his kids. He was a music composer. I think so. I think he was a pianist. And the only thing he could remember was his wife,
mm,
his ex-wife. So obviously they divorced after he got the dementia. His wife
oh,
and
mm,
playing a piano. He could not remember his kids, nothing else.
mm.
Could only remember how to play the piano. And when the wife came
Oh,
in, it's like he was seeing her for the first time. And
oh,
he was, oh, darling. And he was
that
so
sounds like a
happy.
notebook kind of story. The beautiful side of
Literally.
dementia, because it does have a beautiful side too that we've not talked about. It has
The
some
dementia people
beautiful
are also the
stories.
same as well. They'll always
Yeah.
there's always be that one thing. Or you can find your mom or your dad do not remember you, but they'll remember their grandkids.
They will remember their grandkids
They'll
sometimes,
remember
and
their
it's
kids
so sweet.
sometimes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
always like be patient. Nicola's listed those things. Take them, if you want to take them with a pinch of salt, it's okay. As we said, we're not professionals, but from like experiences, Nicola personal experience, and me just working like with such people, and the little knowledge that I have. So watu nyumbani,
Yeah.
msifikiri kwamba
Kidogo kidogo
mtakuwa
hajaza kibaba.
exactly ndo ushaambiwa basi.
Mm,
Unajua si mtu hajarogwa, hakuna kurogwa, mtu hajarogwa kabisa. So
uh-uh.
please msianze kwenda kulipalipa mapasta mkiombea mapasta wakemee shetani. Hakuna ushetani. Si ushetani, it's a
Ni
disease, ni
ugonjwa.
ugonjwa. Ni
Mm,
ugonjwa and it's a real thing. Inaitwa
mm,
dementia.
yeah.
So be
Yeah.
just there. Msianze kupoteza pesa sijui mwenda kuomba, and sijui kuna sijui holy water, sijui nini. No.
Mm.
No.
Yani, whatever you do, I think from there is just learn that you have to be patient and be kind.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it will work.
Absolutely.
You'll have bad days, the days you won't know what you're doing, the days you'll be confused and stuff. But just be patient with yourself and patient with the patient,
With
and
the
see how it
patient.
goes. We are here to support you. Tell us your experience, your stories, and we share together. I think we really need to stop using my stigma ndogondogo we have over things we don't understand.
Yeah.
Tuna stigma ndogondogo. People don't want to share the stories. They're embarrassed about the stories. They're what?
Yeah,
Many
don't
people will
be.
judge you, but afadhali hata ulearn kitu mpya from it than refuse to share your story. You know?
Absolutely, absolutely. Do not be afraid. Uliza, I was about to say that. Come on, mtu wa familia yenu ama someone and unajua hizo groups kwa sababu najua Facebook kwa Kenya mwapenda groups. Oh my goodness. Kuna groups sijui kaa ngapi za Kenya. Kuna groups for everything.
Yeah,
Unaenda
there's a group for everything. There's a group for a group.
a group. So there's a group for everything. Like nendeni kama mwapi like nendeni huko ulizeni, ask. Kama unataka kuuliza marafiki, go to that group and type it and just ask.
Yeah.
It's never wrong to ask. How is it you are? An answer is always, or help is always around the corner.
It's always there. It's
It's
always
always
there.
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
always there
absolutely.
practically.
Yeah.
So
Thank
hopefully what we
you.
have, I know it wasn't that much, but I hope you took whatever we said, the communication and the signs. Do not ignore the signs. Do not isolate them. Please, msiwafungie milango. Usiwafunge.
Polisi wa Kenya ndo nakwambia uwafungie, itakuwa ni wewe. Polisi wa Kenya ndo nasema kama polisi wenyewe ndo hawana knowledge na information, what do you expect from the ordinary person? Kama polisi wa Kenya wenyewe wanakwambia
ufunge milango,
what do you expect from somebody? Yvette shared a story where somebody was chained. Yeah, wamemfungia kabisa hivi. So sad things are happening there. Knowledge is power. Knowledge used is superpower.
Really?
Yeah. Knowledge is power. We only fear the things we don't understand. So from this, I hope we've learned something, and I hope we come a long way and reduce these things. Very soon, mimi nitakuwa mnyanya. I would like somebody nice looking after me when ananiambia, "Woi, utakunywa chai." And I'll be, "Oh, right. Can I have another one, please?" Okay. Alafu nataka nyingine na hata sikunywangi chai. Remember, I don't even drink tea right now. So it will be a hard one. Thank you, everybody.
But before you go, as sema vile nilikuwa nasema training, hata kama wewe ni binadamu, hata kama you're not aware of, hizo signs, wewe mwenyewe kama binadamu utakuwa na common sense kujua how to treat this person.
I think there should be common sense working here. You know what? Remember that he's an adult, but might have a child's brain. But again, you have to treat him as an adult, not as a child. But there are some circumstances where you have to remember he's a child. So you won't lock a grown-up, but you won't let a child play with fire or run off the road. So just find the balance and know how you're going to treat the person you're treating.
Absolutely, yeah. For me, as a part of like a believer, sema Mungu yuko. Mungu yuko, and what they say, what goes around comes around. What goes around you. Remember, you're also a human being. Don't think that you are untouchable. What you're doing to one person today. Sorry, my son is.
Actually, it's true. Hi, Henry.
Hello. How you are treating someone now, Mbuka, you're untouchable. My dementia does not select, it does not pick. Takupata we pia. So
not kuja in form of dementia, kama Mungu atakupata kichapo, then you don't know, you might be crossing the road, lose your brain.
Mungu yuko.
Yeah.
My mom always says Mungu si atumani. I think that's what she says.
Mungu si atumani.
Mungu wa siku hizi halali. Sijui kama Mungu wa kitambo alikuwa halala, sijui.
Mungu halali, Mungu si atumani.
So be very, very
alipata kitu kaenda alimpatia gogo mkalie.
Ndo hapo sasa. Look after them and take care of them. For me, I told my mom, hata hapa naambia Mungu ikifika age hawezani kwangu yuaja. Ayatushi kwangu anaangalia watoto. And it's good because them being around their grandkids is really helpful.
We talked about that the other time, being around especially under 5-year-old.
Under 5-year-old, yeah. Because our ni machiriku they
the world has already taught them stuff, but under 5-year-olds, non-judgmental and loving. They know you're lonely, they know what you're going through. And then I think they are still connected to the other world, if there is such a thing.
Yeah,
energy from the spiritual world. Now, the elderly person can connect with that spiritual world. So there's that, that connection, natural connection. Yeah. Anyway, Asanteni, everybody who has joined us, Asanteni Sana.
Yeah.
But on Thursday, we might not be talking about dementia anymore. We are transitioning to self-development. We'll talk about life coaching in a bit, stuff about life coaching and the importance of life coaching or not having one and stuff. We'll talk about everything. So if you have any questions, that will be interesting. Why will we be talking about that? Because we have a workshop coming soon.
Ooh,
yeah, a workshop by Away Movement. It will have a lovely panel with amazing ladies. So that will be interesting. It will be very interesting. So look out for the posters. They should be coming out possibly today.
And the other thing as well, to get, you as audiences, what do you want Nicole and Yvette, to talk about, or the host to talk about? Please put down some topics that you want to talk about that we can tackle or they can tackle, basically. Put
Yeah.
things there. Whether you want to talk about relationships or you want to talk about financial or just day-to-day life, pretty much. Just put them
Well,
there,
everything, because success. We decided we define it the way we want, and
the
we
way you
just want
want,
to make sure
exactly.
all areas of our lives are catered for. Looking
Mm,
after our parents, or not looking after them, or ways to look after them. It could be a single life, being a parent, being a spouse. Anything we learn from each other as we go. It doesn't have to be finance only. You go chasing that money and forget other areas of your life. Somebody say that if you only have money, you're the poorest person in the world. So make sure all other areas of your life has been looked after, taken care of. That's why we're here.
absolutely,
That's the
absolutely.
success the way that.
Next time, I'd love to talk about single moms, single moms. I'd like to talk about that.
Yeah, that is line
Really,
for next July, the first week of
like,
the first Thursday of July. We've got a lady, Naomi Amuka, talking about that.
yes, that was so good. That would be so
Yeah.
good. Well, guys, it was lovely. So
Well,
you guys keep
co-parenting
having
as
up.
well will be there. I think she's talking about co-parenting the second week of July. I'll tag her and then we'll confirm all those dates, because I'm just saying them off my head and I don't want to give the wrong dates. We've got that also wind up for July, unfortunately. That
Mm,
July Simbali. And then next
they're
week,
on the
Monday,
corner.
is my birthday.
I know she's turning 30.
No, I'm just turning 21.
Welcome to 20s, my dear.
At 21 still.
I'm
So
not
anyway,
counting 30s.
well, you've enjoyed your weekend so much. I'll let you rest. And thank you again to our audience. I'm Nicole Hanselman. It was nice being with you here. See you again on Thursday. And take care and bye. Lovine,
Bye. It was nice to see you.
Kwaheri.